Change is difficult. Change is constant. Change is something that we face on a daily basis. And as leaders, sometimes there's changes that we need to make more often than not. And leading through change sometimes takes a lot of time and effort and energy. The key when you're navigating through any type of change is to not burn out. Now, we hear a lot about burnout, and we've heard a lot about it over the past few years in every sector, not just in engineering, but in education, legal, everywhere you look, there are people burning out left and right. The question is why? What's going on? What is burnout? Now, a lot of people may have a definition of what burnout actually is, but burnout is, as the definition on the screen says, is a state of prolonged emotional, physical, mental exhaustion that is paired with some really difficult stress. Burnout is something that doesn't happen overnight. It builds up oftentimes innocently, but the challenge is oftentimes we don't see that. I'll share a story later on in the presentation of my own personal journey with burnout, and I too did not know that I was burned out until it was way too late. Burnout occurs when you are emotionally drained, and this can be caused by a variety of different things. Long hours at work, it could be a situation with family members, it could be a situation with a big project, it could be anything. But the key is to recognize that sometimes it just drags out a little bit longer than you would hope. And when this happens, it can really take a toll on you, both from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint. When you're burned out, oftentimes you're overwhelmed. You run into a situation where this task at hand seems too big. It's like looking up at a mountain and you don't have hiking shoes to be able to climb up this mountain, and you're wondering, how in the world am I going to overcome this particular situation? In leadership and in every walk of life, but specifically leadership during challenging times, there's a constant demand to deliver. And if you're a leader like myself, oftentimes you run into situations where you are a type A personality, you've been very successful, and you want to continue delivering. But as you rise through the ranks of your organization, those demands get to be a little bit more challenging. And when that happens, it really creates havoc on your physical and your mental being, and ultimately you can burn out. What signs of burnout do we have? There's many, but there are 5 key ones that should be a red flag for you or people that you know that potentially could be burning out. The first one is sleep. How are you sleeping? Are you sleeping a full 7 to 8 hours a night? Or are you waking up frequently? Are you sleeping less than that? What's going on with your sleep patterns? Sleep is crucial to prevent burnout, and the reason being is you need sleep to repair the damage that we do to ourselves on a daily basis. You could be living the ideal life. You could be living a life that is full of energy, joy, and fulfillment, but we still do damage to ourselves through our diet, through what we consume, from media standpoint, reading news and watching things on Twitter and all of that. Whether positive or negative, it does take a toll on our bodies. So when we sleep, our bodies have a chance to repair themselves. And if we don't get a full night's sleep, you're not giving your body the opportunity to repair. So if this is prolonged over a period of time, then what happens is this damage builds up, which then ultimately leads to your burnout. Another sign is if you're a type A personality like myself, and you're usually really driven and motivated to do great things at work or in life or do things, and all of a sudden you're not motivated to do anything anymore, that is a huge warning sign that you should pay attention to and see, maybe possibly, are you burning out? If you're increasingly making mistakes at work, or you're very forgetful and this is not a normal state for you, and that is another sign where you might want to take a look and see what's going on in your life to see if in fact you are burning out. Decision making. Again, in a leadership role, you are tasked with leading and making decisions often on the fly. If you do not have clarity and you're not at a rested, healthy state, those decisions that are quite minor may seem major to you. If this is occurring, then it's definitely a sign for you to take heed to and figure out maybe you're approaching burnout avenue. And one sign that I knew was a big issue with me is if you're normally a jovial person and easy to get along with, and all of a sudden you start snapping at people and you're irritable, whether at work or at home, that's a huge, huge warning. You should take a look at it and see potentially if you are burning out. How does burnout occur? Now, previously, we mentioned all those signs, but there's some other things that happen that can lead to it. The story that I'll share in a bit about myself was about email. With smartphone technology and instant connectivity all the time, there's opportunities for us to be connected via email 24/7. Our bodies aren't designed to be 24/7 machines. We're humans. We need sleep. We need rest. We need leisure. We need relaxation. We need the ability to harmonize work and play. And instant connectivity and working from home, which obviously today is a huge, huge situation, we have to establish some guidelines on when we work and when we don't. And when those lines get blurred and we don't set times to when we're going to check email, then you're constantly working. If you're constantly working, guess what? You're going to wear out, just like a machine. If that machine is constantly going and doesn't shut off, eventually it's going to need downtime to repair, because otherwise it will break, and you don't want that to happen to you. Coupled with the emails is working some insane hours in leadership roles. Oftentimes you're tasked with working longer hours than normal. If it's a season, like if you're a CA, for example, or a CPA, you are constantly working hours during tax season. Now, after that, your schedule should return to normal. But there are many leaders that are in constant 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks for weeks and months and potentially years on end. And when you run into that situation, you're going to create some huge problems for you and the organization that you're serving. Stress. There's no shortage of it in the world. It doesn't matter what we look at. There's stressful situations going on a daily basis. Sometimes, let's say we're in the middle of a pandemic, stressful for many people. And if you're working, the workloads on what you're doing in engineering or other sectors could be overwhelming. And if it's not addressed, it can really lead to, as we talked about earlier, a burned out state for you. Stress comes at us from everywhere, from work, from loved ones, friends, family, your pets, all kinds of different things. And what ends up happening is you run into a situation where your finances can be a problem too. You know, during the current pandemic that we're facing, there's some financial issues that are really going on that are creating all kinds of issues. And what happens with those is you get to the situation where you're worrying about your finances, which is impacting everything else in your life. If your work is being problematic, you're worrying about that, which takes a toll on your family, which takes a toll on your friendships, the environment. All of these things play a big part in the challenges that we're facing. Now, how can you reduce burnout quickly? You can. It's easy to do. Now, a lot of people think, well, how? You know, if we could reduce it so quickly, then why is everybody burning out and staying burned out for long periods of time? We mentioned the sleep. You know, that was a big thing. Getting sleep, a proper amount of sleep every day is important, and there are many ways to do that. Figure out what type of pill you want, the comfort of your bed, room temperature, reducing caffeine after a period of time, watching television, turn off the television before you go to bed. Smartphones. A lot of us use our smartphones in bed. The blue light from the phones can impact your sleep. So there are many studies, and you can learn in a variety of different places where you can address some of those things so you can give yourself a fighting chance to sleep well. Eat healthier. Now, I'm not about to tell you, if you have never ate kale in your life, to just consume a strict diet of kale salad. You may not like it, or you might. I don't know. You tell me. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to pick a healthier food that's good for you, that matches your energy levels and the type of food you need. And get with a good nutritionist to figure out what works for you. One size does not fit all when it comes to diets. So you want to find what's good for you, gives you the right energy, that you enjoy eating. Because if you don't like eating, you're going to be stressing about eating, and that's not helping anything by doing that. You have to prioritize yourself. Okay. I know a lot of people, including myself, and I identify myself as a reformed people pleaser, where I want to help everybody. I want the world to be better. I want people to be free from burnout. But unfortunately, in my earlier life, I gave so much that I didn't keep anything for myself. So imagine you have this barrel of food and you need to have some of it, but you give the whole barrel away. Which is great. The community is loving you. Like, thank you so much for this food, but you don't have any food. So all of a sudden you've traded places with the people that didn't have any food. Now you don't have any food. You have to harmonize that and figure out a way to give, but not at your own detriment. I use the analogy all the time. It's like cutting off your feet to give somebody your shoes. Sure, they have some shoes that they needed, but now you don't have any feet. You don't want to hurt yourself by giving to others. And we're going to allude to this in a few minutes. Do 2 to 3 things every week that you love to do. And we'll talk about that momentarily because it's crucial. Also, reconnect with your goals. What are your goals in life? If they don't come to mind right now, what your goals in life are, then you need to work out what your goals in life are. Put it down to paper. Think about it. What do you want your life to be? Spoiler alert, it's your life. You get to do the things you want to do. You get the choices of how you live your life, where you work, where you live. Yes, there's circumstances that you may be in that are limiting your options at this time. But if you have goals in place, you can establish what you need to do in order to make sure that those things come to be and those goals become a reality. Getting active. Now, I'm not telling you to go to the gym and work out 8 days a week. Beatles reference. Had to throw one in. I usually try to anyway. But you have to get active. Now, again, that means walking a little bit more, getting outside, getting some natural air instead of inside air. Maybe when you're working, if you drive to work, if you have a larger parking lot, park further away from the door so you get some extra steps in. Walking meetings are also a great thing to do. And just get more active, get your body moving, because that will help, again, repair the damage that our bodies are facing on a daily basis. Boundaries. Boundaries, I find, are the crucial thing in order to navigate and prevent burnout or recover from it. Boundaries. What are boundaries? We hear the word boundaries and sometimes we think, okay, like a physical boundary between countries, or boundaries in a sporting event that's out of bounds, or that's in bounds, or that's foul ball, or for when sports was around. And we know that sports will be back at some point, hopefully soon, one day. I miss them very much. But the type of boundaries we have are mental, and mental boundaries are what you're thinking about, what you choose, your decision, the behaviors you have. And these are all conditioned over time. So sometimes in your choices and what you do in life can establish and potentially create opportunities where you can burn out just based on how you approach life and how you think about it. Similar to that is emotional. When you have emotional boundaries, as a people pleaser, there are times where things that happen in life get to you. And there's nothing wrong with being empathetic towards others. But again, you can't do it to your own detriment. That it doesn't help, and it weighs on you, and eventually you end up burning out from it. Physical burnout is going to the gym 8 days a week. You may be burned out of too much physical exercise. It's all about harmony, people. It's all about harmonizing what's right for you. Spiritual boundaries. And no matter what walk of faith you live, there are spiritual boundaries that you should abide to that make sense to you and that are in alignment with your faith and your belief and your values. Sexual boundaries should be fairly clear, but that's obviously from a physical and a verbal component, making sure that you don't cross the line. And uh, with the Me Too movement and everything else, that's becoming more aware of these things and just being aware of what your boundaries are and clearly stating those to people. And if you change your mind and things change, make sure you clearly state that to them as well. Material boundaries. We all have stuff. We all have things that we need in life, but sometimes we don't have proper boundaries around the things that we acquire. And when that happens, sometimes we end up with way too much stuff. One of the biggest growing industries in the US is the storage industry. We have so many things that it won't fit in our own homes, so we have to have storage units to store all the stuff. And you need to have some boundaries around what you need and have what you need in life. I'm not about to tell you to be a minimalist, but I am telling you that maybe just have things in life that are essential to you, that are important to you, and revisit that from time to time. Another boundary is money, how you spend money, live within your means. And for many people, this is a big challenge. If there's a financial crisis or a pandemic like we're experiencing at the time of this recording, there's some financial challenges that people are facing. Having boundaries on how you spend your money is crucial for you to be successful and do the things you need to do. If you don't have boundaries, the dominoes will fall, and it can be quite catastrophic. And I'm going to share with you now a story about what happened to me back in 2009 and 2010. Back in 2009, I was an executive for a startup healthcare organization, and I'd been there a couple of years. And I was checking email from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week, constantly working, constantly doing things, not taking care of my health, not being active, eating poorly, irritable, mean. I wasn't a nice person to be around, lacked motivation in doing the things I enjoy to do. And it all came to a screeching halt where in May of 2009, I had a heart attack that should have killed me. 2 blockages in my left anterior descending artery, which for those that are familiar with cardiology, that's called the widowmaker. Usually, when people have a heart attack with blockages in that artery, they don't survive. Now, I'm not talking to you from another planet or another world. I'm here, I'm alive. I survived it, thankfully. But that heart attack kicked off a series of what I refer to as year of worst case scenarios. So over a period of 369 days, I had a heart attack that should have killed me. I lost my job during the economic recession. My family car was repossessed by the bank. And then finally, in May of 2010, my home was foreclosed. All of those losses are gigantic to people. I had them all in a year. Why? Because I was burned out. My burnout created my year of worst case scenarios. That's why burnout is so important to address and to get past. And say, well, I'll get over it. I hope you do. But ideally, you want to get over it and prevent it from happening again. Now, I've not been burned out since, and that's been over a decade ago, because I learned what led up to those burnout situations and made it a point to do something about it. I had 3 choices. Number one, I could have pretended I was Superman and I survived all those things and just went about my life the way I was doing before because it didn't kill me. Number two, I could have chose to play the victim and blame everybody, blame my employer, blame the restaurants that fed me junk food, blame everything else. Or option three, which was to take accountability and say, I need to change things in my life because I don't want to burn out ever again. It wasn't fun, but I will say it was the best thing that ever happened to me because by doing that, it saved my life. Because I don't think I would be here today if I didn't make those changes. move this up here. Earlier, I had mentioned doing 2 or 3 things every week that you enjoy. So this is an exercise I want you to do, and you can do this right now, is take a sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle of it, a horizontal, or excuse me, a vertical line. I'll get my directions right one day. So a vertical line down the middle of the page. And on the left side, I want you to list all the things that you enjoy in life, whether it's going to your favorite coffee shop, going to a movie, concerts, vacations at certain destinations, wherever and whatever you enjoy in life that brings you joy and fulfillment. Just thinking about them right now brings a smile to your face and you feel great about it. So you're going to take a few minutes to do this, but just for the purpose of this demonstration, I will jump to the second part of that exercise. But take some time and list those things out. And once you feel that the list is complete, and you can always go back to it and add more to it, but once you find that that list is as complete as it can be right now, the next step is on the right side of the page. I want you to write down dates of the last time you did or experienced those things that you wrote down on the left side. Now, when I give this presentation in a public setting, I typically hear a lot of moans and groans and people hanging their head because, ouch, they find that most of the things on that list they have not done in a very long time. And I ask them why. Why haven't you gone to your favorite coffee shop that's 10 minutes from your house? Why haven't you gone to the movies? Why haven't you had lunch with your friend? Why haven't you gone on vacation even though you have vacation time and the money to be able to go? And commonly the answer is I don't have enough time. I've been looking for a long time for a clock that has 25 or 26 hours on it. They don't exist. Everybody gets the same amount of time every day. How we design our life is how we choose to live our life. And many of us are not choosing wisely. We're just nose to the grind, doing things like this, saying, I'll do that later, I'll do that later. Well, you know what? Later gets here fast, and we still haven't done it. So the key thing for you today is take that list. Once you list everything out and you list the last times you've done them, I want you to pull out your calendar, whether it's a paper calendar or a digital one on your phone or your computer. Pick 2 or 3 of those things that you can do in the next 10 days. Schedule them. Put them on your calendar right now. Treat those appointments as if they're the most important meeting you will ever have with your boss. If you miss it, it could be catastrophic because the boss of your life is you. Your life deserves to have leisure. It deserves to have things in life that make you happy and fulfilled. Because when you're happy and fulfilled, guess what? That is giving you a fighting chance to prevent burnout. And if you're not burned out, then you are coming to work, working in your trade as an engineer or whatever trade you're in, and you're giving the best version of you. When you give the best version of yourself while taking care of yourself and being fulfilled in life, the quality of your work, the quality of your life, everything improves. So I highly encourage you to do this exercise and start implementing those things and then repeat every week. Do a couple things. Yes, I know some weeks might be a little crazier and you may not be able to do 2 things, but maybe you can do 1. So oftentimes I see these lists from people and a lot of those things can be done in 10 minutes, but they're not doing them. 10 minutes. So there's no excuse. You should be able to do some of these things. Okay, if it's a trip across the ocean, okay, maybe not every week unless you're a billionaire, then awesome. Bring me and bring all of your friends because obviously you can afford it. But truthfully, start doing some of these things and really make the impact that you can in your life. Just some details about me. I'm the Chief Burnout Officer and founder of Breakfast Leadership, organization that works with individuals and teams on burnout prevention and workplace culture. So thank you for your time today. I truly hope that you found this informative and you learned some key things that you can do right now to be able to reduce the burnout in your life so you can live the life that you truly deserve. Be well.